Fish TV welcomes the sassy, in a class by herself, soulful songstress, Leah Allyce Canali. The distinguished title of Badass Diva is only endowed to the rare few with big personalities and even bigger voices, and Leah not only qualifies, she practically owns the trademark. Originally from Boston, Massachusetts, Leah has traveled all over the world performing in a multitude of bands, theater productions, and cabarets. Most notably, Leah performed at the official inaugural party for President Barack Obama, as well as Pride Toronto, World Fashion Week, and RuPaul's Digital Drag Con. 2020 has been an exciting year for Leah, with her nomination for Best Live Vocals in the very first Digital Drag Fest, as well as the release of her tenderly biting ballad, Wasted, and her prodigious Mariah Carey-esque pop banger, Iconic. 2021 will see the release of her first ever EP, Light and Dark, which is inspired by her relationship with the worldwide drag community and produced by none other than Indie Fish host, Kevin Howley. Both Leah's music and personality carry the implicit thread of contagion, not to mention lots of whistle tones, and she's offering it all on Instagram, Facebook, leahcanali.com, and all major online music streaming platforms. And of course, right here on Indie Fish TV. Ash to ash, dust to dust, we're in the aftermath of what you've done. You pulled me down, you watched me burn, you was my strength, got your turn. You had me fight, you let me crawl, but in the end you got it all. Do you even know where the fuck you would be if it wasn't for me? Oh, I lit myself on fire just to keep you warm, but you made it unsafe, so what was the harm? Now I'm stuck in the quicksand that is your love. I'm going down. I'm going down, down. You took my light, you took my spark when you dragged me down into your dark. But that's what you do, you take and you take, and you don't care who you break. You were a thief, you were a liar, you took my soul and set it on fire. How could you give me everything? I lit myself on fire just to keep you warm, but you made it unsafe, so what was the harm? Now I'm stuck in the quicksand that is your love. I'm going down. 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 Whoa. I lit myself on fire to keep you warm. Now I'm walking away. You can't do no more. You're stuck in the quicksand that is your love. You're going down, down, down. I lit myself on fire just to keep you warm, but you made it out safe, so.
Welcome back to Indie Fish TV. We are sitting down with songwriter and Canada's #1 pop diva, Leah Allyce Canali, who you just watched perform her song Quicksand. Welcome to the show, Leah.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So just before we dive in, we dig in, I know I'm gonna give you the floor for a minute to do some plugging, because I know you've got some really exciting stuff coming up on the horizon. So yeah, just plug away.
So I just released an EP. It's called Light and Dark, which was largely produced by Indie Fish co-host Kevin Howley So that's on Spotify and all the streaming places. And then I will be releasing, well, when this airs, I will have released it, but it's a music video for one of the songs on the EP. It's called Invisible War, and it's full of amazing cameos, including the other host of Indie Fish, Miss Scarlett.
That's true.
So yeah, I'm very excited about that. It was my first foray into editing a music video, so hopefully y'all like it.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see it. It was a lot of fun to do on my part. I mean, because we're all in quarantine, so like to be creative at home and to given the task to do something fun, yeah, it was a lot of fun. So that's exciting. All right, so I'm gonna first start talking about. I want to start talking about your instruments, your amazing voice. Because to me, I don't know. Of course, I'm biased because I love you, but I think you're one of the most impressive vocalists on the scene right now. You can essentially like do anything, and as a vocalist myself, obviously not to your caliber, but when I think about somebody that sings at your caliber, and my experience as a vocalist, I imagine that somebody like yourself, experiencing the pressure, the expectations to always constantly be maintaining that bar, but the reality is I'm sure that you can agree is like vocal quality and performance is so dependent and can be compromised so easily by so many things, external, things that are beyond your control, like stress and air conditioning, big things, small things. And, the public can be fairly unforgiving. If you look at the example, like the way in which the public sort of treated somebody like Mariah Carey, who is like obviously is a vocalist, like an icon, but somehow, the public can be very unforgiving, when she was having less than stellar performances, as for whatever reason, but anyway, so I was wondering if maybe you could touch on that, like, sort of how you deal with those pressures, and then also just general like vocal maintenance.
So thank you, first of all. I mean, whatever. You two are also both incredible vocalists, so it's a huge compliment, and I really appreciate your kind words. So I was classically trained, which that is kind of my ace in the hole when it comes to vocal maintenance, I would say. Like classical training is it's a triumph of the human voice, right? Like opera and classics, there's a reason why it has maintained its prevalence in the world. And yeah, when I'm tired, especially when I'm gigging a lot, that training definitely kicks in, which is great. I've also I lost my voice at one point early in my career. I just really went too hard. I was still in theater school at the time, and I was singing 7 days a week, and I was in a stressful living situation, which stress is a huge thing for voices. And I lost my voice, and it was probably the best thing that could have ever happened for me, for my career, for it to happen so early, because it really kicked my butt in gear, and I had to rehab. Luckily, I went to a great vocal doctor, same doctor that Adele went to, actually. Just name drop that. Back in the day, I would never be able to afford him now, but it was back before she went. But they taught me, it was a program called vocal training or vocal therapy for the professional voice. So they didn't make me take a whole lot of time off, but they taught me a lot of techniques, and they were just said, like, you're working too hard. And it's true. Like, I think a lot of times vocalists, we strive to get these big notes and always go full out, but there are ways to get the exact same sound in a much easier way. So I think over years of experimenting with your voice and keeping up with a rigorous touring schedule, you just get into patterns. And in terms of people being unkind about vocals, I mean, like, Mariah is one of the, shining gods of the universe for me. She was a huge influence for me growing up as a soprano myself, as a person who sings whistle tones. Like, she's kind of it. Her and Minnie Riperton were kind of the go-tos, obviously Whitney as well. But I think it's kind of like anything. It's like politics or religion or anything that's very opinion based. It's usually the voices that are saying the least that speak the loudest. So I think oftentimes, like when people are very critical of vocalists, it's usually because they have no idea what they're talking about.
Totally.
I mean,
Mhm.
the thing with Mariah is like, I mean, she had like I think a 6-octave vocal range. I think she still does. It's probably just shifted a little bit lower, but she's a piano. Like that like voices like that don't come around a lot. And so, even still today, especially if you follow her on her social media, like she's been posting a lot of really fire vocal performances.
Mhm.
And, yeah, did she stumble a little along the way? Sure. But like, in my opinion, it's Mariah's world and we're all living in it. So she's taken it to the bank. I love it. But yeah, I think people are critical often of things that they don't do or wish they could do or think they can do and don't actually do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that has a lot to do with the criticisms. For me, it's tough because I am certainly susceptible to people's opinions. And it can be 100 good comments and it's the one bad comment that you read that is
Yeah.
going to go to your heart. But as RuPaul says, never read the comments.
So you spent a large part of your career as a vocalist and performer in corporate cover bands, things like that. I know because half the time I was there.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah, exactly. But now you're shifting your focus more to your own original music. So how does your relationship to performance change or differ when the music is your own?
Yeah, that's a loaded one for me for sure. Yeah, I mean, the three of us, I think we've all done our fair share of the sort of corporate grindy work. Every performer does, you know what I mean? Like even Whitney Houston sang at a wedding for, granted, $2 million for 2 songs, but corporate work and wedding work, it pays bills. So we have to do it. And honestly, like I wouldn't trade most of the experiences that I've had doing that kind of work. It's super fun. You get to play with amazing people. You get to be in front of different crowds all the time. And you really do kind of develop a lot of good stage presence from having to deal with, the various things that happen at that, doing that kind of work. But for me, there's an intimacy that comes with your own music that you don't get. It's almost like I have a theater background, so I almost think of corporate and wedding and that kind of work as I'm playing a role. I'm playing Leah, the wedding singer that they've hired, and I have a repertoire, and I have a script, and they have hired me to do this. And granted, there is some like interpersonal connection, but nothing like doing your own music, which is kind of going deep into your soul and really ripping in my case, sometimes really ripping into what you're feeling. It's way more exposed. It's way scarier. Like I never get nervous doing corporate or any of that kind of work. I don't. It's at this point it's muscle memory. But with my own music, I'm still developing a sound. I'm still figuring out my voice. I'm getting there for sure. But it's much more of a personal journey, and it feels much different. And it does feel more fulfilling in a lot of ways. It's there's a deeper connection to what's going on. But yeah, I feel very exposed when I sing my own stuff in a way that I never feel singing other people's work. And yeah, I'm happy to be going on the journey though. I think it's
I think that on behalf of Kevin and I, and probably the entire world, I think that we're all very happy that you've made the transition because to me you're just so much more, especially after like this new EP that's coming out. I've obviously heard it. Other people will get the amazing opportunity to hear it, and I just I think we're all just so blessed that you've made that transition, because you're just so good at it, and the world is better off for it. You're definitely not just a wedding singer,
I know. And I always say that, like, just a wedding. Like, look, there's plenty of people that make careers doing that, and they are good performers. And, like, there's no shame. There's no shame.
Yeah,
I have no feeling.
denigrate, for sure. It's an admirable job, and it's a great paying job, and you get to do something that you get to make money doing something that you love. You know, it's better than doing something that you like, the grind every day that you
Totally.
you hate. So I certainly don't denigrate. I just think,
And 9 times out of 10, you do get to be part of like some really cool special moments, which I actually really like.
absolutely,
Mhm.
it's very gratifying work in that way, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's more gratifying doing my own stuff. You guys know that. You know that.
So you and your music, have really been embraced by the LGBTQ plus community and the drag community. And you've been, a very vocal ally and advocate for that community for a long time. So did that sort of happen organically over time, or was there like any particular catalyst that sort of brought that not transition, but helped that grow?
Yeah. So yes, I mean, the LGBT community has been amazing for me. I love them. They're my family. They're my chosen family. Even from when I was young, my parents are very liberal and they have a lot of LGBT friends and family. So I was exposed to the community at a younger age, I think, than some people our age. And then in college, I was a theater major. So, that comes with some amount of exposure to the LGBT
Just
folks.
naturally, yeah, of course.
Just naturally. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of gay men do love theater. Gay women as well, but let's be real.
No.
I know. Shocking. You heard it here first on Indie Fish. So I went to theater school, and then right after school, I worked at a cabaret, a little boat cruise cabaret, and it was fun. And my roommates I met through that, which they turned out to be drag queens, and we lived right by Fenway Park in Boston in this little weird kind of cross section of straight and gay. It was Fenway Park and then like the gayest clubs in town, and so they would go off at night, and I lived with them. Our coat closet was a drag closet. It looked a lot like this, actually. And I always kind of joke that I'm going to write a book called The Last of the Hags, and just my experience, being a straight woman in the LGBT world. And I also, when I first came to Toronto, I had a residency at the last live music venue on the Church and Wellesley Strip, which was Statler's. And I was there for 5 or 6 years, and really honestly found my voice on that stage. I met so many amazing queens that I still work with today, and performers of all kinds, but specifically drag queens. And I learned a lot of the rep that I do now. Also, like, if you look at kind of pop diva women and the LGBT community, they are often held up by each other. It's a real symbiotic relationship. They're inspired by each other. Obviously the music intertwines, like someone like Robin, for example, like her career was really kind of reignited and kept alive by the LGBTQ fans that she had. And there's a lot of people like that. It's a culture that really appreciates music and art and fashion and love. And it's cool. Like, even off my EP, I've got some amazing features on the EP. I've got 3 amazing queens. Tainomi Banks, who's a Toronto legend, Selena Vile, who's coming up in the ranks. She's hilarious. And then Katia, everyone's favorite RuPaul's Drag Race girl, who was a Boston gal, so I know her from back in the day. They were amazing. They came in and, we laughed so hard in the studio, Kev, with Tainomi and Selena. They're just,
man.
I learned most of my stage banter comes from years of living with drag queens, because nobody on this earth is better on a microphone than a drag queen. Like, they are just like nobody. It's just that's what their bread and butter is. They really that's their entire career, is being quick-witted and quick on their feet. So most of the banter that I do is learned from the queens of my past. And actually, Invisible War, it's really cool. So one of the songs on my EP, it is about actually depression, but it's a dance song. You know this, Kev. And it got picked up, like Tafari and I wrote it together. And we didn't even really intend this, but it got picked up recently by a can queer radio show that
Wow.
was talking about It's a Sin. And It's a Sin is about, the early days of the HIV epidemic.
Right.
And they played Invisible War for it. And Safari messaged me and was like, I can't believe we didn't realize that this song is so applicable for the HIV AIDS
Oh,
pandemic.
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's huge. That's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah. So I'm performing for Pride this year too, Toronto Pride. It's virtual, but we'll be they're doing sort of like a MTV Much Music music video thing, and Invisible War is going to be in there. So, that's a charity and a cause, and something that's very close to my heart. I do a lot of AIDS charity benefits. And I've lost friends to it. I have friends living with it and striving with it and surviving. And, until there's a cure, I think it's super important to be involved. But it's really cool that song kind of just organically morphed into that. And I'm excited about it. And somebody wants to say hello.
Oh, hello.
And Stella is also super into the EP.
I bet.
I mean, she'd have to be, or else we'd have to start the whole thing over again.
Yeah, if it wasn't cat approved, my dear.
Yeah.
My lord.
Your indie fish pick, which we're going to discuss now, is Kevin Wong. And you are about to perform his song here on Indie Fish, Feel Your Voice.
Feel Your Voice.
So just briefly, quickly talk about Kev.
Kevin Wong, the most beautiful songwriter I have ever heard. I mean, like, I always joke that he needs to do a song called Tears by Kevin Wong, because it's everything he writes is perfect and emotional. And I love everything he writes. So this song is called Your Voice. He also co-wrote a lot of my EP. So he co-wrote Iconic with me. He co-wrote Quicksand. He also played strings on Quicksand. He's incredible.
We seem to be keeping it in the indie fish community. I like it. We've got Farai, we've got Kevin, we've got
I know. Yeah. I guess my entire, it's funny. Pretty much my entire EP was written or co-written / produced by somebody that has been on Indie Fish. Like, Joanna Muhammad, aka Afros, also wrote a track on the EP. Like, we're just keeping it in the fam. But yeah, Kevin's amazing. If you don't know him, you should know him. He is a bit more influential, I would say, in the theater world, but he writes incredible pop tracks as well. He just released an album this year, or I guess, it was last year, 2020, called Small Ways to Move. This song is off of his EP, Emotional Homework, which is,
I love that title.
It is definitely that. And if you need if you need both like a pump up and just an emotional release, like Emotional Homework by Kevin Wong, check it out. But yeah, this song is about finding your voice, and it's beautifully written. I mean, listen to his version, trust me, because I will sing it, but he sings it better.
Both
have your own vibe.
It's true. We do have different vibes.
And that's the fun of like Indie Fish, is that you get to do your interpretation of an indie artist, which is so wonderful, because we're all like publicly, in terms of like all the famous covers, like it's almost like you can't that fear of like trying to reach something that's already like so ingrained into the culture. Like if you're doing a cover of like Whitney, or if you're doing, it's exactly. And so in this way, it's just kind of neat because you're both independent artists, DIY, and it's just fun to hear like multiple interpretations of a song that really just needs to be elevated, into like more years. Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like I can't say enough good things about Kevin. He's amazing. And if you're talking DIY artist, he writes everything, he arranges everything for himself, he plays all of the instruments on the tracks, he produces it, he masters it. Like he does everything from start to finish. It's incredible. And he just he's a real force. And the sweetest, funniest, most charming human being you will ever meet in your entire life. I've performed with him a bunch. We do a big gay cabaret every year, and it's one of my highlights of my entire year. Chris Sugiuchi does a big gay cabaret, and we're his backup people. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about him. And he's wonderful to write with too. He's, I went to him and I said, I want a track like early 90s Mariah, and he was like, oh, like this. He just like he knew immediately the reference, and we did it. And I think he actually has an EP coming out very soon that is like covers of some pretty fire 90s R&B tracks, which you're gonna want to listen to that because it's gonna be incredible.
Well, we'll have links at the end, of where the viewers can kind of reach out and smash some of those follow buttons for Kevin Wong as well. So without further ado, we have stick around, Indie Fish TV. We have the always amazing Leah Allyce Canali covering the music of Kevin Wong, Your Voice.
Kid, it's time for a check-in. I notice you've been put you second. Look above you, does the sky seem gray? Oh, are you missing something as you're living? Not much left, too much of you was given. When's the last time that you just took a day? And now you don't feel connected. You don't feel respected. So find some ground to find your sound and feel your voice. Feel your voice. Taste the air, taste the air. Feel your voice. Yes, you're happy, yes, you've been kind, but still you're looking for that reminder. You can't always be there for everyone. No, 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 carry so much weight on your shoulder. Days and days go by, then you're older. When's the last time that you just sat in the sun? And now you're sitting in pieces, wondering where your release is. Gotta turn around and find your time and feel your voice. Feel your voice. Taste the air, taste the air, and feel your voice. No one's gonna see you waiting back behind the scenes, and you can't stay safe by staying just where you've been. No, 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 no. Take the time to figure out exactly what you mean to say. What do you have to say? And then play and feel your voice. Feel your voice. Taste the air, taste the air. Feel your voice. Feel your voice. Feel your voice. Taste the air. Taste the air. Feel your voice. Feel your voice. Feel your voice. Taste the air. Taste the air. Feel your voice. Taste the air, taste the air, and I feel your voice.
That was Canadian pop singer-songwriter Leah Allyce Canali covering the music of Kevin Wong. For more on Leah or Kevin or any of our Indie Fish artists, please subscribe to our YouTube Indie Fish channel, or you can follow us at We Are Wolfville on Facebook or Instagram.
So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Next week, live in the fish tank, we have the incredible indie folk R&B artist Mike Celia covering Chloe Charles. So join us every Thursday night, 7 p.m., right here on the Indie Fish YouTube channel to hear the best Canadian independent artists covering the best Canadian independent artists.
Thank you for being a friend.